It's tax cut season, baby! Woo! Deep cuts, thick cuts. Yeah! We're going into a recession. MAGA! Sorry, I just love imagining the idea that giving corporations who already are experiencing record high profits more tax cuts with the hopes that it'll somehow magically eliminate labor exploitation and reduce income inequality. We are now one step closer to the age-old Republican politicians' dream of melting poor people for biomatter. And I say Republican politicians and not all conservatives because the reality is that many Republican voters will be significantly hurt by the devastation these tax cuts will bring about. Probably still keep blaming minorities and shit though. Republican politicians love tax cuts almost as much as I like shamelessly posting thirst traps on my Instagram. Seriously, follow me though. Moving on. And while speaking of tax cuts, here are the 4 things that Republicans claim they give a shit about, but they don't actually give a shit about. Number 1, all lives matter. If Republican politicians genuinely cared about all lives, we wouldn't be facing the largest wealth redistribution in American history, where some in the middle class pay lower taxes for a couple years as the corporations and the wealthy run off with even more money than they know what to do with. And after the taxes are cut,
you also have to bring spending under control. The driver of our debt is the structure of Social Security and Medicare for future beneficiaries.
The Republican playbook is always the same. You cut taxes for everyone, but mostly for the wealthy, at any cost. Then, when those cuts wind up ballooning the deficit, you claim that we have to cut social programs and welfare spending.
So the biggest way the Senate bill affects the healthcare system is through the repeal of the individual mandate. Just repealing that provision alone would lead to 13 million more people being uninsured.
And it's interesting because this is basically a provision that turned this tax bill into the skinny repeal no one fucking liked the last time they tried it. That's gonna further cripple the affordable insurance marketplaces set up under Obamacare. And those in desperate need of treatment won't be able to get it. But it's even more than that. If there's one group whose lives definitely don't matter to the GOP assholes, it's the middle class.
That's why our tax plan will reduce taxes for our middle class.
Wrong. By 2027, people making $40,000 to $50,000 a year will see a combined increase of $5.3 billion in taxes. But that's all good, right? Because by that point, people making over $1 million a year will see their taxes cut by $5.8 billion a year. The biggest problematic outcome post-tax cuts is that it contributes tremendously to income inequality. So it's kind of weird to talk about helping the middle class when your entire economic understanding revolves around eradicating the number of people that belong to the middle class. But yeah, I mean, if you think people like Jared Kushner and Betsy DeVos, who have enjoyed a tremendous upper hand their entire lives given their parents' wealth, need the additional resources to, I don't know, buy a private jet for their dogs, then yeah, this bill will absolutely benefit people like that. By the way, speaking of private jets, there's literally a tax cut for people who own private jets in this bill. It's like Lex Luthor level evil. It's comical. Almost as comical as the Republicans yelling regular order at Democrats when they passed Obamacare.
Let's return to regular order. We've been spinning our wheels on too many important issues because we keep trying to find a way to win without help from across the aisle.
My favorite principal daddy, John the Maverick McCain. John McCain was hailed as a champion by the liberal media for voting against an Obamacare repeal. Well, turns out he cares more about leaving his wife and daughter, his wife's vast wealth, than a return to regular order. That, or his brain has turned into mush, where he thinks raw dogging a 479-page bill with lobbyist scribbles all over it at 2 a.m. on a Friday night is totally regular order.
I just got the tax bill 25 minutes ago. This is the tax bill. See how thick it is?
Man, that is one thick bill.
Here's the modifications that are in it. I can read one word.
Yeah, so last Friday, our senators, including McCain, voted on this massive overhaul, giving Democrats only hours to read it. They threw in bones to many senators like oil drilling in Alaska to ensure they could get every vote they needed from the wavering GOP senators. This is what McConnell had to say about the insane way they passed the biggest tax cuts in history in only a couple weeks.
You complain about process when you're losing.
Because that's what this is about. It's only about winning political victories in an effort to secure campaign donations from the wealthy who pushed for this bill. You know what it absolutely wasn't about? The goddamn deficit.
This is the highest-ranking military officer in the country who was asked what the greatest threat was to our national security. And you all know what he replied? The debt, the debt. $18 trillion and growing at this point.
This is another laughable conversation because the GOP politicians who frequently weaponize our debt when it comes to social spending have absolutely zero problems forgetting about its existence when it's time to cut taxes for guys like Sheldon Adelson and the Koch brothers who happen to give them millions and millions of dollars every year. So next time you tell someone healthcare is a right or that free college is absolutely feasible and they laugh and ask you, how will you pay for this, you socialist libtard? You point their attention to the $6 trillion tax cut Republicans just spear-dicked through the Senate that will increase our deficit by $1.5 trillion. And the only reason that number isn't higher is because they also hiked taxes for the middle class by $4.5 trillion in order to make up for it. Here's who they actually pushed this bill for.
Well, I think all of us realize that if we fail on taxes, that's the end of the Republican Party's governing majority in 2018.
They're not even fucking hiding it anymore. Make them pay. Make them all pay for this. Run them out of office. Their lives are still gonna be fine, unfortunately, once they're no longer in public office. They'll go get a fucking cushy lobbyist job and still make over 7 figures. I'm Hassan Piker. Please share this video with your friends to spread actual information about the tax cuts that will devastate the economy. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Hassan D. Piker and on Twitter at Hassan the Hun. And this has been The Breakdown.